There is a bit of a crisis in faith in development.
What we seem to see now is a focus on relatively short-term gains and outcomes.
We're finding ourselves working towards emphasising the measurement for results and responding to this greater debate or demand for accountability.
We all agree about why is monitoring evaluation is about trying to do better. This is a conference about monitoring and evaluation of international development work.
It's not only about reporting your results, but it's also about learning about your results.
At least if you know that you are failing, you are also able to say, okay, I want to do better.
You plan some work, you implement it, you monitor it, you learn from it, you plan some fresh. So it becomes a habit.
At the end of the day, we're working with poor people. Yeah? So we want to know what we're doing actually helps them in some way or another. Is this actually making an improvement in their lives?
Without a strong monitoring and evaluation framework applied to these activities, we may not know what results we are achieving or which direction we are moving.
From the head, we justify it because there's a lot of taxpayers' money, a lot of public money, but there's also a lot of people who give money to development, and they want to know that they're doing something useful as well.
Does it make sense what we are doing? Are we doing the right thing?
This is not asking whether you are doing the right things, but if you are doing things right.
We are very happy not to go with targets and milestones in accountable governance work.
Organisations need to have a protocol. They need to have a system which says if you're running a campaign, you should be recording this, this and this at this point, that and that at that point.
Partnership is very important. So partnership with the political parties, partnership with the municipality, partnership with the provincial government.
Some of the changes that we work towards are not all that immediately visible.
Advocacy takes a long time to actually show its true results.
But changes that are very important to reach impact, which is maybe sometimes easier to measure, like change in income or change in life expectancy.
If we are getting the community to demand and government institutions to respond, we need an M&E system which looks after both their perspectives.
They have to be participatory, they have to include the voices of those people.
Most of the time, the evaluations are done in a complex way. And how can the community take up the M&E?
We need to simplify and stop seeing monitoring and evaluation as something that experts do.
It is a challenge to make it tightly interesting or interestingly tight.
Is it to achieve a particular outcome, like clean water, or is it intrinsically for strengthening organisations? Because unless you're clear on that, it's difficult to know what you're actually trying to assess.
Upward accountability, downward accountability, horizontal accountability, mutual accountability, political accountability, social accountability, economic accountability. It was not always clear where our interventions were focused upon.
We asked the community members to explain the changes that took place after the intervention of the particular project, and we asked what is the most significant out of it.
Ask people. You can't actually find out the impact of any type of development unless you actually ask people, has this changed your life or not?
While looking at the changes, we sometimes have problems because the changes that we anticipated are not taking place. Or there are changes that take place, but more than what we anticipated. And there are unexpected changes. So all this can be captured through the people's perception of what the real change is.
Because we are forced now to account for the funds of the government with this methodology.
We're not dealing with tens of millions of pounds in projects. We're dealing with projects that are maybe 100,000.
Are they analysing costs at that farmer level?
That is done by the help of their staff.
You know, if you're doing interviews with households, I mean, if you're talking to a male and female in the same group, like the response that I give to you are going to be very different.
It may not be scientific, and who cares? At least for us, it will enable us to learn.
It's easy to say, yeah, $2 has vaccinated a child. That's a good thing. Nobody's saying that's not a good thing. But it's much harder for us sometimes to defend perhaps the longer term work.
Where it's changing now is that donor governments are saying, we want you to use our money for these purposes and we want you to monitor and evaluate in these ways. That's the big shift. Not whether we should monitor and evaluate, but how.
Because of that, everybody's looking at monitoring evaluation. How do we know what we're doing is worth doing? How do we know, in a sense, we're getting anywhere?
So it interests me that people in power are so attached to short-term results when we've seen what investment in short-term results brings about, at least in the economic sector.
It's also a great opportunity to link, because we are moving towards multi-actor approaches where people work together, they collaborate. Sometimes it's even a condition to get support for you to operate. So those are the places where you also make those partnerships, because you see each other.
All the sessions that I have been to, they have made me realize that there is a lot that I need to do.
So this type of conference is helping to share our experiences and then work towards the betterment of the communities, to get the real views of the communities of what they mean by development, so that our interventions can be planned accordingly.